Hi there everybody, how's it going? This is Jessie Marie, newlywed, coming to you on this Wednesday, June 15th of 2016. It's been 2 weeks since I last recorded, and some big things have happened. Like, I got married, and I went on my honeymoon. Yeah, big things happening. So naturally, because it's been 2 weeks, I have so much to talk about. Whips and plans, and probably should tell you guys a little bit about my wedding and my honeymoon. And I've got some haul here that arrived while I was out of town. So yeah, lots to talk about. So I suppose first things first, we will start with the wedding, and I'm going to make this very brief because this is a stitching channel, and the other thing is that my wedding was a very personal event. It was a very intimate event, and I love sharing some things with you guys, but most of it I'd like to, keep for myself because it was wonderful, just the way it was. So my husband, that's taking some getting used to, we got married on June 4th, 2016, so just under 2 weeks ago, and we lucked out. I mean, like, lucked out. So we got married in Blacksburg, Virginia, which is home to Virginia Tech, where we both went to school. And Blacksburg has interesting weather, shall we say, because it's in the valley, and it is subject to pop-up rainstorms and crazy hailstorms in the middle of nowhere. And it snowed one April when I was at school. Like, you just never know what kind of weather you're gonna get in Blacksburg. It's nicknamed the armpit of hell because you just don't know. You just don't know what you're gonna get. Well, we were forecasted some serious rain, and like all day, June 4th, it was supposed to be stormy and miserable. And when we got up in the morning, it was sunny and beautiful, and then the sky started to turn and we had some storms, and then it was almost as if the weather took a break for our ceremony. We had our ceremony outside, and it was wonderful. I mean, it was humid and it was sticky and it was hot, but it wasn't raining, so that was pretty cool. We got married at, it's called the Duck Pond. A lot of college campuses, particularly in the South, have a duck pond. And Virginia Tech has a beautiful gazebo set out over the duck pond, and so we got married there. It's a very popular wedding spot on campus. There was a wedding just before ours, and they had put up some flower bouquets around the gazebo in maroon and orange. We're actually not sure if the wedding did that, the previous wedding, or if campus had done that, because there were a couple of weddings happening there. And then the previous wedding party had piles of flower petals, of rose petals, and so my family, or not my family, but Danny's aunts, they sprinkled some of the flower petals up the walkway, and it was wonderful. It was a really short ceremony. There were 14 people in attendance in total. I had an aunt on my side who was able to make it, who we weren't sure if she was going to be able to, came down from Michigan. Danny's aunts weren't supposed to be there, but they ended up making it, and it was just good. It was really, really good. I goofed in the ceremony, so because it was such a small thing, we didn't have any rehearsal or anything like that. It was really basic. So, we're at the part where we're exchanging rings, and I think that there was supposed to be a pause between, me putting the ring on Danny's finger and then she announcing us, our minister announcing us. And I didn't catch the pause because we get to the end and she says, "With my pleasure." And then I say, "With my pleasure." And then it dawned on me that that wasn't for me. And it was funny. It was funny. And then we had a spur of the moment photographer who took some beautiful shots. I got to see some previews and I'm really, really excited about them. I have them all on high resolution. I have all the high resolution images on a disc, and it is not Mac compatible. So I can't get them uploaded onto my computer. So that's a bummer. But fortunately, Danny's dad has uploaded them to his PC, and so we will have access to them, and I'll have some prints done. I do have some of the digital ones, and so at the end of this video, I'm going to put it in a little slideshow. There's going to be some Thor, and there's going to be some wedding pictures, just because I know you guys wanted to see that. Thor is actually, he's right there. He's on the floor sleeping. He's been pretty awake. I mean, we were gone for over a week. He was at an animal hospital that boarded him, and he's been more awake after this trip than that one weekend a couple months ago, where he slept for like a week after we got back. He's been more awake, but he's sleeping now. He may make an appearance, so we'll see. But I'm sure you guys are enjoying hearing him snore. So that's that. And then for our honeymoon, we left on Sunday morning, about as early as we could, and drove up to Pittsburgh. We spent the night in Pittsburgh, and we actually got to drive through Pittsburgh. When we're making this trip, we normally stay on the outskirts of Pittsburgh, like in, I think, Harmarville, in that region. We normally stay there, but this trip we just decided to drive through Steel City and just see what it was. And it was cool. I mean, Pittsburgh fans, I'm sorry if you're a Pittsburgh fan, but the Penguins are the ones who sent the Caps out to play golf for the summer, so I'm not a huge fan of Pittsburgh right now. But it was cool. We almost caught a Pirates game. We were driving through the city and realized that they were playing, and we think that the game got started late because there was some rain. So there may have been a rain delay, so we thought maybe we'll try to sneak in. But we had no idea where to park, so. Plus, it's not like we're A's fans or, so anyway. So then spent the night outside of Pittsburgh, went to Permanente Brothers, which if you don't know Permanente Brothers, if you have one, I highly suggest you go. Sandwiches with French fries on them. Can't go wrong. And then the next day, we made the quick trip from there up to Sandusky, Ohio, where we went to Cedar Point for our honeymoon. And we had a blast. I mean, it's a lot of fun going to Cedar Point. It's not the most chillaxed, relaxing of honeymoons, but we had a lot of fun. Cedar Point has a new roller coaster called Valraven, where basically they take you up and then they lean you over the edge for about 4 seconds and then drop you straight down. And so we rode that a couple times. We pretty much rode everything in the park except for one coaster that we didn't get to. Is that it? What else happened there? In the middle of one of the days, we left and went to go see Civil War. We ate a ton of good food. Yeah, it was good. It was a really good honeymoon. We had a lot of fun. So sore. I'm leading a pretty sedentary lifestyle these days, and yeah, walking for a week, I was pretty sore. Oh, that's one thing I wanted to mention. So our last ride before we left on Thursday, we decided to go ride Valraven one more time, the one that hangs over and drops. And Cedar Point has this cool thing. If you want, you can pay, I think it's $375 per person in your party for a tour guide. And this tour guide takes you around the park, and they will actually bring you up the exit to cut the line. It's kind of a cool thing, but you have to have the money to do it. So we're on Valraven. Ride ends. We're coming back into the station, and we see that there's a tour guide with a group of guys waiting at the exit to get on after we get off. So progressively, we're like working our way down the exit. These guys are coming at us, and all of a sudden these two teenage girls start screaming. I mean, absolutely screaming. And I mean like giddy, excited, screaming at me, like terrified. And one of them keeps yelling, Josh, Josh, you know. And I'm like, what the hell is this? What's going on? Come to find out, that group of guys that was getting on the ride after we were getting off, 21 Pilots. Yeah, 21 Pilots was at Cedar Point. And I had the opportunity to hang out with them for like a brief second while we passed. It was pretty cool. So when you come off the ride, you come through and you can see your picture. And I took absolutely none of them home because I have cheeks and they're exasperated. That's not the right word. Exaggerated. That's the word. By these roller coasters. So I didn't take any of the pictures. So you come through and then you come out and there's only one way to exit. So as we're coming out, we see those teenage girls that were screaming standing there waiting for 21 Pilots to come down and out. And they must have snuck out a back way because, you know, like if you're a member of a band and you're trying to go to Cedar Point, like you don't really want screaming fans at you all day long. So I totally get it. And I guess that they're from Ohio, so it kind of makes sense. So anyway, that was pretty cool. And then we made the whole drive home on Thursday. Originally, we were going to spend the night in Pittsburgh on our way back, just cut the drive in half, but we just made the whole drive back. No big deal. And yeah, so now we're getting into normal life, I guess. Well, that was fun. It stopped recording. Not for dropped frames or anything normal. No, I ran out of storage on my laptop. So I just deleted a whole bunch of old clips and whatnot because holy moly, that's crazy. So anyway, enough about all that. I suppose we should probably get to the stitching, shall we? Okay. Like I said, 2 weeks means I have a lot to talk about. So without further ado, when I spoke to you guys last, it was June 1st. And I was getting ready to start my my June piece from the Cricut collection. And so I'll just go ahead and show you a quick one of what that looks like. That's what it will look like finished. So pretty. And originally I was stitching this on 32 count pastel lilac. And it's kind of a pale pink if you're looking at it in the right light, but what I found is that while stitching on it, white almost completely blends in. So I scrapped that idea because the lettering for this piece is all in white. And yeah, I could have backstitched it to make it show up a little bit better, but stitching white on almost white, not really feeling that. So instead, I am using a piece of 32 count cream Belfast. And I think that's upside down. So what I started on was the N. So this is the first leg of the N, and then it comes down here. Now the white is still kind of hard to see. It's not so apparent, so I will still have to backstitch it, but the process of it isn't driving me as crazy. So I will take it. And that's what I got to on the first day. I just did a little bit of work on this before going back to my Postcards from the World by Clouds Factory. So anyway, there's that. Make sure I'm folding this up the right way. Thor has relocated to the bed, so there may still be snoring. And heavy sighs, apparently. He's very frustrated. Okay, so then I got to work on my Clouds Factory Postcards from the World, and this took me ages to finish. I ended up not being able to finish it until midway through our honeymoon trip because I have become a bit of a stitching snob, and I only want to stitch on my stand, and I don't know how to stitch one-handed anymore. So it was slow going. So you'll be seeing a preview image of it here, of where I was last time. I was midway through this block, and then I finished it up, and then here's where I am now. So I'm just going to zoom in on the block in question. This is Giza in Egypt. Yeah, let me tilt that the right way. There we go. So I made a couple of changes to this, very, very little things. I gave Caleb the camel a tail. I also gave him eyelashes because camel eyelashes are pretty epic. And then Mike over here, I backstitched his eyes as well as the Sphinx and the death mask. I backstitched the eyes on that because I thought that they looked better with some more definition to them. Yeah. Oh, one thing. So the green in the trees, that is like the very last few inches of number 907 that I have in my house. I had to scramble to find that. And I managed to find like the last section of it that I could find anywhere. Now I didn't check all of my whips, so it's highly likely that it's somewhere in my whips, but I wasn't going through 70 projects to try to find it. But I did find it in my bonus stash, just enough to get that done. So I will have to get a new skein before July. And so here are all 6 presently. Loving that. Oh, and I did go through and fix the top line of each of those borders so they're all solid. So there we are. I loved this block. Lots of yellow, more 744 than I ever thought I would need in my life. But nonetheless, I think it turned out really, really great. So there's that. I really wanted to finish this on June 1st, but I just couldn't. And then Thursday, I got hardly any stitching time whatsoever. Thursday the 2nd, because I went and got my hair done. Can barely see it now. Most of the color has quieted quite a bit, but I got some blonde highlights and I had quite a few inches taken off. And then, but that took like 3 hours, so I didn't have a whole lot of stitching time that day. And then on Friday, I went and got my nails done, and I haven't had my nails done in a while, so they were sore, and like getting used to grabbing a needle with these on it was quite the disaster. Plus on Friday we left for Blacksburg, so anyway, so there's that. Managed to get that done, and we'll see where we go next. I really, really love this piece. I like it a little bit more than the Pumpkin Passport. By the way, the fabric for this is a 28 count. Is it 28? Yes, 28 count Cashel Monet, hand dyed by Picture This Bliss. And that was all of the stitching that I did on like wedding weekend, honeymoon. That was all I did. I was going to work on my Pumpkin Passport, but I just couldn't do it because I was starting to get sore. My neck was starting to hurt. Probably a combination of the rides and then like leaning down looking at my Q-snap while it was propped up on something. That it was just not conducive for stitching, so I did a lot more knitting on our honeymoon than I did stitching. So when we got home, I pulled out my Frosted Pumpkin Stitcheries Pumpkin Passport, and I finished this block real quick. If I wasn't so tired, I would have finished it in one day, but it took me about a day and a half. And this time for the Pumpkin Passport, we were in Russia. And so I finished that little block up, and I think it's adorable. Again, I think there is way too much going on. I think that it's too busy, but I mean, I wasn't sure where to edit, what to take out. So I just went with it. I just stitched it as called for. I did give our tour guide for Russia a little extra eyelash. She's a little bit sassy. So there's that. And that's the whole piece thus far. Still have some borders to do here on the bottom, but I'll get to that when the time is right. So there's that. The fabric here is 32 count properly primitive from Under the Sea Fabrics. Okay. I was trying to think if there was anything else that I did differently with that, but I don't believe so. Okay. Next, on Saturday, I worked on my dove. This, last time I realized that I kept saying that this was by Ava's Creations. That's not the case. This is by I Love My Designs on Etsy. And you'll be seeing a preview image of what it will look like finished, as well as a clip of what it looked like the last time I showed you. And I am stitching this on 32 count cream Belfast linen. I'm using Dinky Dye's silk in the color Boolia. It's a beautiful tonal purple. And this is the new skein that arrived. It matches pretty well to what I had left over, so I decided to go ahead and use my leftovers first, and then I'll break into that skein. And I didn't do a whole lot on this because I wasn't feeling it. But I did get, let's see, this section in here. Let me think. Right in there. I got that whole floral bit done. So really, his body is all filled in. And so now I just have to work upward to finish up the wing. Now, when I talked to you guys last, I think I said I had a total of 5 lengths worth of thread left. This took 4. Just this little bit. So it's a good thing I got that second skein. Because stitching, you know, you have to stitch each stitch so it eats up floss a little bit faster than the traditional stitching style. So anyway, there's that. And this is the fabric that I cut in half so that I would have some cream to do June on. So there's that. In the preview of what it's going to look like, it shows those leaves coming off the branch that the dove is holding. And so I'm going to stitch that using the Classic Colorworks silk in Beanstalk. I used this for my Ye Are Blood of My Blood. So that's what I'm going to stitch those in. Just for an extra little bit of color. Okay. Don't know why I'm tying that all up. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about winding whips after I talk about the whips that I've worked on. So then at that point I was trying to decide where was I going to start for my rotation. And somebody had mentioned that I should start with S since that was my new married name, and I should have gone with that, but instead I let my new husband decide for me. So I told him to pick a letter, and he picked D. How narcissistic is that? And So I started with the next piece on my whip list that follows the dove, which was my Dreamcatcher by Tiny Modernist. This was a piece that I started for Stitch Mania. You'll be seeing a clip here of what it looked like the last time you saw it. And here is what it will look like all finished up. And I've made the decision to make some changes to it, but before I talk about that, here is where I got to. I wanted to finish the ring of the Dreamcatcher, so that's what I did. I got all of that filled in, and I just love how colorful it is. Just beautiful. So the changes that I'm going to make to it, I'm still going to use the brown thread for stitching the, I don't know what that's called, but the weave inside the Dreamcatcher. So as you can see, it's charted for the beads to look, to be stitched. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to string these beads. These are size 6 Mill Hill glass beads, number 16609. And so every time one of those beads shows up, they are 4 stitches square, so 2 by 2. I'm going to replace that with one of these. They're kind of rainbowish, but like with a purple. They're kind of leaning purple. Purple, from what I understand, and from the very little bit of research that I did, and this could be totally wrong, purple is, it's a very, I don't want to say rare, it's not a very naturally occurring color, in indigo and lavender, of course, but it's not a prevalent color. From what I understand, some Native American tribes, they value the color purple. It's representative of wisdom and mystery because it's such a rarely naturally occurring color. So I thought that would be good. Plus they're multicolored, and I just thought that it would play nicely with the multicolored nature of this piece. So the way that it's charted, I'm basically going to make it so that the beads could slide along the thread, which is why I'm using the 6-knot size, because they're big and they'll move around. So I thought that would be kind of cool. We'll see how it goes. It may not work out. I may be having weird dreams about what it may be doing, but I'm going to give it a shot. So that's very cool. The fabric here is 32 count Winterbrook by Under the Sea Fabrics. And it is just a half of my fat quarter. The other half has actually been pegged for a project. But more on that later. Okay, had to take a break there. Grab some water. I misplaced my straw that I was using with my Tervis. So I'm drinking out of just a regular water bottle, and I know that the crinkling can get kind of annoying, as well as drinking sounds. Anyway, so that was on Sunday, this past Sunday, so Sunday the 10th. I'm totally making that up. Sunday the 12th. Just kidding. Losing days. Okay. So, as I talked about last time, my plans for my rotation are each project will get a day. If I'm very close to a finish, I will give it up to 3 days. If it's one of the 8 projects that I had pegged for finishing this year, from 2015 and prior, they will get 5 days. And if it's a Heaven on Earth design, I've decided to give it 2 days. Doesn't matter what kind of progress I make in 2 days. So, Dreamcatcher, I worked on that on Sunday the 12th. On Monday the 13th, I got to work on my Chatelaine 2009 Easter egg. It's called Another Easter Egg. This is a piece that I started for Stitch Mania, and you'll be seeing a preview image of what that looked like last time. And I have a finish. It's such a wee little thing, but it's all done. So I cut the fabric so that it makes more sense. There's no sense in it being on that full big piece. This is also 32 count cream Belfast linen, and it was a really, really quick little project. I'll be sure to link it in the description box so that if you want to get to it, you can. This piece features some long stitch, some Rhodes backstitching, of course, Algerian eyelets and rice stitches, as well as a little bit of metallic and a little bit of beads. So in the pattern it calls for, let me see, Petite Treasure Braid number 26, which is Aztec Gold. I have that somewhere, but I'm not entirely sure if I have enough extra to have taken some. Obviously it didn't take very much, but nonetheless. I also didn't want to go searching for it, so I found a Krennic, and I meant to grab it, but I didn't. It doesn't have a number. The little sticker that had the number on it fell off eons ago. But you can see it in there. The pattern also calls for the use of beads, and it says, let's see here, it says Mill Hill seed beads, blue or gold, or Delica's, blue or gold. So I decided to use blue and gold. So I have a couple of gold ones up here, and then a few blue ones, a couple of gold ones, and a few blue ones. And the beads that I used are Mill Hill Glass 02088 and Mill Hill Glass 00557. So those are the beads that I used. I just decided to use both colors. Got to break out my tacky bob. Made me very happy. I attached those beads with 712, I believe. Yeah, 712, which is the most closely color matched to the fabric. And that was a sweet little finish. I tried a couple of things to sort of change it a little bit. I tried to put in a backstitch Happy Easter, and it looked too clunky. It wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't the right font or if maybe it just wasn't necessary. There's a bunny button that I have for my April by the Cricut collection that I stole to try because I thought a bunny with the Easter egg, that would be cute. And it was also too clunky. It's a really big, thick button, and it looked silly with this very delicate little egg. So I'm just leaving it as is. It will probably go on a card for Easter. I'm not typically one who does cards for Easter, but you never know. And it's done. My very first Mania finish is done. This is a piece that I probably could have finished the same day, but you know, whatever. It's fine. So let's see. I started that on the 16th of May and finished it on the 13th of June. So there you have it. Okay. So I'm just going to set that off to the side because I don't need that precariously sitting here yet. Or anymore, rather. Okay. Next, okay, so that was on Monday the 13th. Yesterday, Tuesday the 14th, I worked on, now keep in mind I'm working down the alphabet here. I worked on my Eastern Bluebird. This is by Stony Creek. It is a part of their Birds of the Month series. And you'll be seeing a preview of what it looked like the last time you saw it here. And this is what it will look like finished. And so I focused on the bird this go around. Now this is one of those pieces that kind of towed the line for me. I could have given it that up to 3 days to get it finished, but I didn't. I just decided to give it the 1 day. Maybe next time I will focus on it to finish it. So that's what I got done. I love his little chest. I don't know why, but the color gradation there are 4 colors in there, and I just love it. I think it plays out really beautifully. And so there's that. I was going to stitch the bird and then save his head for last, but I thought that would be kind of creepy to have a bird with no head. So I decided to work up his head a little bit. So there's that. And this is a teeny tiny little 8 by 12 piece of fog cashel. This is by Picture This Plus. Had it hanging out in my stash. It's a very lightly hand-painted, hand-dyed, whatever. I don't know the words that I'm trying to come up with there. So there's that. And I kind of want to do the whole series. Typical, right? Maybe next year. So there's that. And those are the whips that I worked on last week. I'm going to show you here my upcoming whips in just a moment. But first, let's talk about wine and whips, because I did work on some wine and whip. So, week 1, June 1st through June 8th. Yes, June 1st through June 8th. Through June 7th. There we go. I was to work on my Shades of Wine by Northern Expressions needlework. My wedding part 1 of my wedding sampler. I thought it would be a good thing to work on during my wedding, or not during my wedding, but during that time, plus on our honeymoon, and I never got to it. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like to prove to you that no progress was made. Still where we were. So, yeah, nothing done there. Like I said, I was having a hard time stitching on my Q-snap. Because this is on 40 count, I'd really like to have it on my Millennium so that I get some good stretch to it so that I can see the holes. So, such is life. Gosh, all of the interruptions today. The good news is, Thor is still snoring, despite everything. So, that was my first wine and whips. My second wine and whips was I chose the Be Thankful by Imaginating. You'll be seeing an image here of what it looked like before I started on wine and whips. And just a second here. Here is what it will look like finished. Now this piece I didn't get started on, I believe, until Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. So I had 3 days on this because today my wine and whip switches. So technically I only got 3 hours on it, but I got quite a bit done in 3 hours. So here's where we are now. Now this project makes me whine because of the fabric. It's a very stiff, it's 14 count Fiddler's Ada, very stiff. There's some of the fabric holes actually still have some starch in them, so I have to really stab my needle through. But I got quite a bit done. So I got almost everything done in the basket. The only thing that I have left to do in the basket is the back stitch. And there's a lot of back stitch. I debated working on that during my wine and whips. I debated putting an hour into that, but I just wanted to see some more progress instead. What I should have done was finish the U, because then it would say ugh, which I thought would be very appropriate for a wine and whip. But with the way that I had it set up on my frame, it was just easier to work over this way. Now I am stitching this sideways because I don't have a method of stitching that's that long and at that depth. So I am stitching it sideways. So I worked upwards to work on the B. And I got in some of the, I don't know, cranberry vines? Is that what that is? Might be. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I don't think that it's going to take a whole lot more to finish because what's left is really just words. There's a couple of little bees over this way and more of the vines. Not a whole lot left. I found that when I was stitching on this, the first 10 minutes or so were a struggle, but then I got into a groove with stitching on the Ada, and it went just fine. So yeah, really pleased. Wine and Whip success story right here. And now when it comes up in my rotation, I won't dread it. And this is one of those pieces that I have set, so I won't dread the 5 days of progress on it. So that's very exciting. So, quite a bit of work left to do, but not a ton. Not a ton. Okay. And then, starting today, I am working on my newest Wine and Whip piece. This is my week 3 Wine and Whip, and I'm working on Pumpkin Patch Farm Sampler by the Victoria Sampler. I took a picture this morning before I started stitching on it, and I'll insert that here. That's what it looked like before I got started on this Wine and Whips. I'm not going to show you the progress that I made today because I want to show you a more drastic vision of it next Wednesday. So that will stay as it is. But what I can tell you is that it's maybe no longer a Wine and Whip. It's still early to tell, but the main reason that I was whining about this is because of the threads issues that I've had for the last year. So we will see how much I get done with 7 hours worth of work put into it. I'm really hoping that I can get band 1, 2, and 3 done. Band 1 needs a little bit more stitching and some back stitch. Bands 2 and 3 are specialty stitches. So fingers crossed, another 6 hours we'll see those 3 bands done. That's what I'm hoping. Okay, so let's get into my upcoming whips. I have 3 whips pulled to work on between now and next Wednesday. The first of which, I'm so excited to get to work on this, you guys. The first of these is Elephants by Jane and Natalie Mayhew. And this is one of the pieces that I had pegged for a finish by the end of the year. So this one will get 5 days. Yay! Okay, upside down elephants. So here's where we currently stand. Oh my god, I am so in love. I can't wait. So pretty. Look at her. Oh, I just love her. I'm so excited to sink my teeth into this. So this is where we left off. I know it's confusing right now, but this is like, so this is Nicki Minaj. And this is her, this is like her stomach, and this is her, what am I trying to say? Rear end / thigh. So that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm going to work on filling in this section and then trying to get most of Nicki Minaj done. So, and then I'll come over here and work on Big Tone. This fabric is, it is 32 count aqua. It is a hand printed, or not hand printed, but it's a printed fabric by Fabric Flair. Love it. And that is coming from the Jane Natalie Mayhew's Cross Stitch Safari. And here's what it will look like finished. Love them. I'm so excited. While this is uploading, I'm going to get to stitching. And I have a feeling that this is going to get some good progress over the next 5 days. So that will be worked on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yes. So next Monday is my next piece. Set that over there because I really am going to go work on that. My next piece is Elizabeth by the Glendon place. Now this piece is actually going to show up in a couple of sales over the next few weeks. This is what she will look like, all finished. And here is where I am currently. This was one of my Mania starts. And this is 32 count Buttercup by Under the Sea Fabrics. Ain't she pretty? Very excited about that. So that will get some work here on Monday. Okay. Next on Tuesday, let me see, the 21st. Yes, Tuesday the 21st is Faces of Fairy by Jasmine Beckett Griffith from Heaven and Earth Design. This is Faces of Fairy number 201. So she will look like that finished. This is Black Swan. And here's where I got to for Mania. Lots of Mania in my whips right now. The beginning of the alphabet is very Mania heavy. So I got about, I want to say a quarter of a column done. Not a ton, but I am going to give this 2 days, so I will get Tuesday and Wednesday to work on this. So there's that. Hoping I can get at least a column, if not 2 columns done. There's only a few colors in these first 2 columns, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's that green section. And that is on 25 count Antique White Lugana, my preferred for Heaven and Earth Designs. Okay. That's it. Those are my plans for the next week. So let's get into some retail therapy because I have some things. I placed an order with 123 Stitch hoping I would get that Boolia in before we left on vacation, before we left on honeymoon, and that was not the case, so that's fine. So where to start? Okay, so we'll start with the boring things. I got 2 packages of needles, Peacemaker size 28. They are my favorite. And I got 2 more packs of floss away bags. The floss away bags are cheaper on 123 Stitch, so I got those guys. Okay, next, I was gonna stitch on my wedding day, and I couldn't figure out what, so I was gonna start this. This is Mill Hill I Love. This is a part of their I Love collection, and they have several. Music, coffee, gardening, stitching, and Halloween. And then I Love Love. Kind of appropriate for a wedding day. But obviously it didn't arrive in time, so it's still packaged up. So there's that. Next, I got a piece that I have been eyeing for ages, and every time somebody shows this piece, I get jealous. So I just went ahead and ordered it. This is Lavender and Lace Nantucket Rose. And there is something about this piece that just captivates me. Like, every time I look at it, I can't stop staring at it. It's so beautiful. So, yeah. That may be happening sooner rather than later. We'll see. I'm really whip focused right now, so we'll see. Okay, and then also in that order, so upcoming in Cross Stitch Finish Line, Kate the Queen of Starts has this new sal getting started, and it's the Now I Know My ABCs, where every month on the 26th we are going to work on a letter. One letter. So for the next 26 months, we'll be making our way through the alphabet. And you guys know I love my alphabets. Well, I guess I haven't really made that apparent. I like words and letters and things. So I've been debating back and forth. What am I going to do? I could do my Prairie Schooler alphabet that I went to great lengths to get a hold of. I also looked at this. This is Bent Creek's Stitching Row. Sorry, guys. No stitches. So it's a really simple little pattern, but I think it's adorable. It's got like all of our things. There's a hoop. There's some threads, some scissors, needles, buttons. What else have we got? Yeah, that pretty much covers it. But it's pretty, right? So I thought about doing that. So the fabric suggested is flax linen. And I was wary because I kind of know what flax looks like. But I ordered it anyway. And it's a neutral. Like, I don't understand. It's a neutral. It's a neutral. Whereas on here it looks blue. So I don't know. So anyway, I have a fat quarter of flax Belfast linen by Zweigart. Yes, by Zweigart. So I would still stitch it on this. That's not a problem. I think the colors would play out okay. The only ones that I would have questions about would be, I don't know how well you can see that, but some of the swirls are in a kind of a neutrally color. But that's probably manageable. But I have decided that instead I'm going to do my Prairie Schooler alphabet for a couple of reasons. One of those is that this is charted entirely in Weeks Dye Works. So I would have to buy the Weeks Dye Works. I wouldn't have to, but I would want to. The other thing is that I want to stitch this, but I don't want to take the next 2.5 years to do it. You know? This would take me, a few days, a couple weeks, tops. And I think this would be really cute to have in my craft room, in my office. So I was not feeling it. Now, a project that is justifiable for taking a few years, Prairie Schooler alphabet. So I got searching and trying to figure out how I was going to do it. Am I going to do it all on one big piece? I am doing something a little bit different than most. I don't want to say everybody is doing it one way or the other. I don't want to say that I'm that unique. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 3 pieces of fabric. And the first one will be ABC, DEF, GHI, etc., etc. And then that will be much more manageable, not only for the fabric purchases, but also for framing. Because framing a yard of 40 count fabric, that's expensive. Whereas framing 3 fat quarters of 40 count fabric, much more manageable. So that's what I'm doing. I ordered some 40 count Newcastle linen, and I'm going to stitch it 1/2 on that fabric, and I'll do them in blocks of 9. So yeah, that's my plan. That's what I'm going to do. And this will go into stashing fabric. I'm so excited. This I will do on a more blue linen because I think it would look nicer on a blue. I mean, it does look nice on a blue. So, there's that. Okay. Next, I have one piece that I got digitally, and it's free. And if you like Mirabilis, you should go get it. It is the design that was featured at the Mirabilia Minions retreat this year, and it is Leilani. It is free from the Mirabilia website. I'm going to show a preview of it here. It's a very little design, not very big at all. It's more pixie size. And I'm going to stitch her on that other half of the Winterbrook by Under the Sea Fabrics. I think she'd look really pretty on that. So that's what I'm going to do for that. And that's it for the digital downloads as far as I remember. I don't think I've bought any Hades or anything like that. So I do have some more haul on the way, so I'll show that to you next time. What am I doing? There's a whole other part of this retail therapy I haven't shown you. I also got my fabric of the month from Under the Sea Fabrics. This is Naiad, and I am in love with Naiad. This is a 32 count Belfast linen, and I am just obsessed. I'm obsessed. This is a much wilder fabric than I am used to stitching on. It's got a lot going on, and I don't even care because it's gorgeous. The blues in there. Look at those turquoises. Oh my god. That's just wonderful. Love that color. So, there's that. There's my Naiad. I'm saving this for the next Beautiful Mermaid by Mirabilia. Because Naiad, it just has to be a mermaid. But since I have 2 mermaids already on the go, I probably don't need any for a while. So, there's that. I also got the next 2 Bewitching Pixies. These were May's Mirabilia releases or Nora Corbett releases. And so this time we had Bewitching Pixies. The top one here is Xenia. Temptress that she is. Look at her. And then the bottom one here is Ava. And I just love Ava. I love her skirts. Oh, she's pretty. Yep. And they require no Krennics or anything like that, but they do have some beads. So this one is for Ava. Ava's got lots of beads. I think they're 3 packs of all the same color. Okay, so there's 2 packs of this color and 1 pack of this color. Just a couple of deep purples. And then these are for Xenia. I think they're black. They look silver lined and black. So there's that. And then there were some Krennics that were back ordered from Aphrodite Mermaid that Leslie finally got in and sent off. So there's the Krennics. I love those blues. Those are good. Okay, that's all the haul. Oh, it's a lot of stuff. So that's pretty much it, folks. Yeah, that's it. I talked about whips, talked about my wedding, talked about my new stuff. It's going to be good to get back into a routine and to get on with normal life. So I am going to stop rambling. You'll be seeing some pictures and some clips here at the end. And until next time, happy stitching. Bye, guys.